Today I'm addressing the question, are you allowed to undertake? Lots of people undertake, lots of people think about undertaking, and lots of people are worried about whether you are allowed to or not, or whether it might amount to an offence. So undertaking is what I'm talking about today. But first of all, if you're new to me, I'm the barrister who helps you understand law on this channel. So hit the subscribe button and the bell icon and you'll receive notifications and you won't miss anything. If you have questions, they might find their way into a video like this one, or they might end up being answered on Black Belt Secrets, my sister channel, linked in the description below. So if you've watched my previous videos on the highway code, they are generally rules and guidance, but some of them are backed up by legislation and create offences. In my merging of lanes vehicle, you'll remember that I said the highway code does not grant anyone a right of way. This is at the very outset of the highway code. But the rules do indicate when you should give way and when you must or must not do something. Those must and must not are often backed up by legislation and often have associated offences. So to state the obvious, undertaking is the passing of another vehicle on the left-hand side, as opposed to the right-hand side, where you would normally move to overtake a vehicle. So all of the following would apply on any multi-lane road, whether that's a dual carriageway or a motorway. Because after all, there will be the opportunity to pass another vehicle on the left-hand side, which, as we just said, would be undertaking that vehicle. So with the highway code being a good place to start, let's look at what the highway code says about overtaking or indeed undertaking. So starting out with overtaking, so we can distinguish the two, Rule 267 states, do not overtake unless you are sure it is safe and legal to do so. Overtake only on the right. You should check your mirrors, take time to judge the speeds correctly, make sure the lane you'll be joining is sufficiently clear ahead and behind, take a quick sideways glance in your blind spot, and so on. So overtaking, as it is set out in the highway code, should only be on the right. But as usual, it's not quite that simple. Rule 268, leading directly onwards, provides as follows. Do not overtake on the left or move to a lane on your left to overtake. That sounds clear enough, but let's read on. In congested conditions, where adjacent lanes of traffic are moving at similar speeds, traffic in left-hand lanes may sometimes be moving faster than traffic to the right. In these conditions, you may keep up with the traffic in your lane, even if this means passing traffic in the lane to your right. Do not weave in and out of lanes to overtake. So this is the bit that warrants a little bit more explanation, and for which you're going to see my expert drawings. So we all know, don't we, that on a typical 3-lane motorway you should all be in the left-hand lane. However, as traffic builds up, you might be overtaking in the middle lane, and some people will be overtaking in the outside lane. Typically, overtaking slow-moving vehicles in the outside lane is perfectly normal, but what happens when the outside lane suddenly becomes packed with vehicles, and the inside lane is also packed with vehicles, and the middle lane happens to be clear? Well, this is the situation that the highway code is talking about, keeping up with traffic in your lane, even if it means passing vehicles to the right. Alternatively, of course, this vehicle could move into the outside lane, but it wouldn't make much sense if the middle lane is clear. What is not acceptable, however, is for this vehicle to move to the lane on the left in order to overtake the vehicles in front. Equally, if the very inside lane is clear, there's nothing to stop this vehicle from keeping up with the flow of traffic in front, even if it means passing vehicles to the right. Although vehicles in the middle lane should not be moving to the inside lane in order to overtake vehicles in front as before. So ultimately what that is saying is that you may pass a vehicle on the left-hand side, which in the strict definition will be undertaking the vehicle to the right. However, it doesn't provide that you can move to that lane in order to carry out that undertaking maneuver. So if you are in that position where your lane is moving more slowly and the lane to your left is moving more quickly, you shouldn't be moving into that lane in order to pass the vehicles in front of you. This would be contrary to the highway code and, as I'm about to explain, could cause you some difficulties. Other situations where it might be perfectly normal to pass a vehicle on the left-hand side is if they are turning right, or they are about to perform a U-turn, or perhaps when you are on an average speed check zone where you are doing the exact speed limit but the vehicle to your right is moving very slightly slower. Naturally, you may be moving faster than the vehicle to the right-hand lane. But as I said, the distinction would be is if you moved into the left-hand lane in order to pass the vehicle that's in front of you, this is the behaviour that the highway code seeks to restrict. Equally, if there are signs that specifically instruct you to stay in lane and your lane is moving faster than the lane to the right, then again you may end up undertaking vehicles to the right, but you have an excuse because you've been told to stay in lane. If you are maintaining the speed limit and the vehicles to your right are moving more slowly, you have a reason and an excuse to be undertaking those vehicles. So those are the situations where it might be broadly acceptable to undertake a vehicle to the left, but let's look at some situations that would get you into some serious trouble. First of all, Rule 269 of the Highway Code, and in respect of the hard shoulder. You must not use the hard shoulder for overtaking. This, I suggest, is as clear as it gets. In areas where an active traffic management scheme is in force, the hard shoulder may be used as a running lane. You will know when you can use this because a speed limit sign will be shown above open lanes, including the hard shoulder. A red cross or blank sign above the hard shoulder means that you must not drive on the hard shoulder except in an emergency or breakdown. So again, in the same rule, the must not has been emphasized twice. And this rule is backed up by legislation, so it will amount to an offence if you are caught doing so. So pay attention to those signs. But more generally, you are likely to end up in more trouble if you are weaving in and out of traffic in order to undertake and overtake vehicles, particularly if you're doing this dangerously or carelessly. If, for example, you are rapidly changing lanes to undertake vehicles and then overtake some more vehicles and then moving again to undertake some more vehicles, this is very likely to catch the attention of any passing police or traffic officer and might well land you with a fixed penalty, or worse, you could be charged with careless or inconsiderate driving, or even dangerous driving depending on the speed with which you change lanes. I have personally witnessed some driving which as a professional I would consider to be dangerous driving. If you are found to have poor lane discipline in that regard, which amounts to careless driving, you could be looking at up to 9 penalty points on your driving licence, a £5,000 fine and a discretionary disqualification. And remember, if you already have 3 penalty points on your driving licence, 9 penalty points would tot you up to 12 points if accrued within the last 3 years, in which case there would be a mandatory ban of a minimum period of 6 months, unless you can show exceptional hardship. So I hope that was a useful answer as to whether or not you are allowed to undertake and the situations when it might be permissible, and in most cases when it's not. So please give this video a big thumbs up if you found it useful, and remember, stay humble and subscribe.